My fiancé Lucas died in a plane crash. At the funeral, tears streamed down my face. Lucas's uncle walked over and handed me a tissue. His expression was cool and detached, but the corners of his lips curled up with a smile. Your fiancé's dead? That's great news. Oh, don't get me wrong. I'm deeply sorry about his passing. But really, it feels like the heavens are helping me out. Still, the timing of his death couldn't be better. You must be feeling pretty lonely now, right? How about a new husband? What do you think about me? Later on, when my supposedly dead fiancé miraculously came back to life, he punched his uncle right in the face. You were the one who told me to fake my death to test William's feelings. And now what? You're hitting on him. 1. It was 2 a.m. But the lights in the villa on the hillside were still on. I finished replying to an email and looked at Lucas apologetically. Sorry. The company just dropped a last-minute task on me. I might not be able to make it to tomorrow's. Lucas cut me off, clearly annoyed. Again? William, how many times has this happened already? Every time we go out, you never stop talking about work. Can you stop being such a buzzkill? He set down his wine glass and stood up. I kept my tone soft. I'm sorry. I'm sick of hearing that. Lucas snapped. We argued for a bit before he stormed off. I understood how he felt. After all, my work really is hectic. And I hardly have time for him. To be fair, I'm probably not even a decent boyfriend. I took a moment to compose myself, then got up to find him and apologize. But just as I neared the lounge, I heard laughter and voices coming from inside. Lucas, if your boyfriend's acting like that, it just shows he doesn't value you. If you ask me, just leave him hanging. Once he realizes his mistake, he'll come crawling back. Exactly. Between you and work, he'll figure out you matter more. Those voices belonged to Lucas's buddies. The door suddenly opened from the inside. Lucas froze for a moment when he saw me standing there, but quickly put on a blank expression. I'm not in the mood to take you home. If you want to leave, figure it out yourself. I stood there, watching his back as he walked away. Lucas had always been easily influenced. He must have listened to his friends and decided to teach me a lesson. But seeing him act so cold and unyielding just made me feel completely drained. I didn't say anything else. I put on my coat and headed out of the villa. At this hour, in this location, I knew there was almost no chance of catching a cab. I squatted by the roadside, my mood sinking to rock bottom. A pair of headlights appeared in the distance, followed by a short honk. A sleek black Bugatti pulled up in front of me. The window rolled down slowly, revealing the side profile of a handsome man. I blinked. It was James, Lucas's uncle. What was he doing here? What are you just standing there for? James looked at me coolly, one eyebrow slightly raised. Get in. 2. I never expected James to come out and drive me. As I got in the car, my head still felt a little foggy. Is the temperature okay? His voice was low and pleasant. There's a blanket in the back if you need it. I shook my head, dazed. I'm not cold. James chuckled lightly. All right. Then he said nothing more as he started the engine. The car carried a subtle fragrance, something expensive, though I couldn't quite place it. The music was calm and soothing, and it quietly eased the frustration I'd been feeling. I snuck a glance at James. To be honest, I didn't know him well. I'd only met him a few times during dinners with Lucas. But my impression of him was always good. I still remembered the first time I visited Lucas's house. My heat cycle had suddenly started early for no reason. I was so uncomfortable I locked myself in the bathroom. My phone was outside, and I didn't know who to turn to. I silently prayed that Lucas would realize I was missing and come find me. After what felt like forever, the stall door gently opened. A cool, minty scent enveloped me. It wasn't from Lucas. It was from James. "You okay?" His warm fingers lightly brushed over the swollen glands on the back of my neck, sending shivers down my spine. I shook my head weakly. In the small, enclosed space, James calmed me with his pheromones while texting the house staff to buy suppressants and patches. I melted against him like cooked noodles, clinging to his shoulder and inhaling his scent like a cat on catnip. But James didn't push me away. He was like water, gentle and accepting. When I finally came to my senses afterward, my face flushed red like a tomato. "You're clinging to your boyfriend's uncle. William, what the hell were you doing?" Luckily, James had the grace not to push me away. Of all the people there, only he noticed something was wrong. And he was thoughtful enough not to tell anyone about my heat cycle starting early, sparing me from embarrassment. I was blown away by how attentive he was. No wonder the financial magazines call him the dream alpha of a million omegas. He really lived up to the name. 3. Had a fight with Lucas? James's voice pulled me out of my thoughts. I didn't deny it. "Yeah." "Did he piss you off again?" I shook my head honestly. "No. It was my fault this time. But honestly, sometimes I wonder, maybe Lucas and I aren't actually that compatible." The second the words left my mouth, I pressed my lips together. Saying something like that in front of Lucas's uncle was definitely out of line. James gave a faint smile. "Why do you think that?" His expression didn't change much, which helped me relax a bit. "It's just, he's too childish sometimes," I said. James responded mildly. "He is a kid. Lucas grew up in a privileged family. Never had to worry about food or clothing. Most of the time. He just couldn't understand why I had to work so hard. And he definitely couldn't understand why I always got upset when he said, 'I'll take care of you.' To me, that was the biggest gap between us. In his world, life could just be about fun, food, and romance. But I had to think about so much more. Because of that, our wedding had been postponed again and again. I didn't say much after that. The temperature in the car was just right. And I started to doze off. Somehow, I actually fell asleep. I had a weird dream. I dreamed I was at the beach, tangled up by an octopus. Its suckers latched onto my lips so hard I could barely breathe. I struggled for a long time but couldn't get it off. All I could do was scream silently in my head. "Just wait till I catch you, I'm turning you into braised octopus." In my sleep, I furrowed my brows slightly. The man leaning over me glanced down, eyes darkening just a bit. He released a light wave of his scent, cool and minty, quickly filling the car. It oddly soothed my chaotic dream. When I opened my eyes again, the seat was reclined fully. The sky outside had already started to brighten. James sat in the driver's seat, seemingly working. The soft light from his laptop reflected on his face, highlighting his refined, sharp features. I shifted a little. James turned slightly and looked over. "You're awake." "Sorry, I didn't mean to fall asleep. You should have woken me." He smiled gently. "You look tired." "I didn't want to disturb you." I shook my head, a little embarrassed. "No. I should be the one apologizing. I took up your time. I should freshen up and get to the office." "All right." I folded up the blanket and placed it back on the seat. The fabric was soft and warm, even though it was thin. I glanced at it again, a little reluctant. I really wanted to ask James where he got it. "Wait a second." Just as I was about to close the car door, James called out to me. Before I could react, he crouched down in front of me. His warm fingers gently touched my ankle. "Sorry, didn't mean to cross a line." he said softly. I just noticed you've got a scratch here. Let me put a band-aid on it. His touch was light, it tickled a little. Earlier that night, during my argument with Lucas, he'd smashed a wine glass. I must have gotten cut then without realizing. Such a small detail. And yet, James noticed it. Thanks, I said, pulling my foot back slightly. For some reason, my face felt a little hot. See you next time. He looked at me steadily, the corners of his lips lifting. See you next time, William. When I got home, I noticed a cut on my lower lip in the mirror. I suddenly thought of that dream, the octopus one. Could it be I was so food-obsessed I bit myself in my sleep? I opened my phone and ordered braised octopus tentacles. 4. I didn't expect to see James again so soon after that. See you next time. That evening, just as I got home from work, my phone rang. It was Lucas, the first time I'd heard from him since our Cold War. The noise on the other end was loud, music, chatter, men and women laughing. I frowned. Where are you? Lucas is drunk, a familiar cocky voice said. It was one of Lucas's many buddies. He keeps calling your name. Come pick him up. Will you? All right. I'm on my way. After hanging up, I turned the car around and headed toward the address he sent. It was rush hour, and the traffic was terrible. By the time I got there, half an hour had passed. When I opened the private room's door, Lucas was surrounded by people. His face flushed. He looked dazed, but not completely out of it. Lucas. I walked straight up to him. Expression flat. Come home with me. He turned his head away, ignoring me. Damn. 10 minutes away and you still took this long. You were working again, weren't you? Yeah. You don't give a damn about Lucas. Someone chimed in. I took a deep breath, suppressing my anger. The roads were jammed. Excuses. Excuses. Tell you what, down this bottle, and we'll hand Lucas over to you. I looked at Lucas again. He just sat there, head down, as if he couldn't even hear the way his friends were mocking me. We stood in silence, no one moved, acting all high and mighty. I heard someone whisper behind me. Seriously. Just apologize and get it over with. Lucas ditches him. He'll come crawling back. Exactly. Why work at all after getting married? What a born beast of burden. An Omega acting all strong, what's the point? Probably got something wrong in the head. My heart dropped. My hands, hidden in my sleeves, started to tremble. I called out softly. Lucas. He kept his head down. Didn't even blink. Something tugged hard in my chest, an unbearable, dull ache. Since when? Since when could he just sit there and watch others humiliate me without lifting a finger? My nose stung. I turned to leave. And then I heard a familiar voice at the door. A tall, elegant figure stepped out from the shadows. The project your father assigned you isn't done yet, right? You still have time to party like this? The guy who had just tried to humiliate me instantly turned pale. I'm sorry, James. Please don't tell my dad, I'll leave right now. I didn't hear what they said after that. I went to the restroom, wiped my tears, and splashed cold water on my face. I was a mess. As I looked up, a hand passed me a tissue from the side. James stood next to me, his expression cool and calm. Here, William. 5. I hadn't meant to cry again, but I've always been a little overly sensitive like that. And somehow, after hearing what he said, the tears welled up again. I hurriedly took the tissue he offered. Thank you. It always seems like when I'm at my worst, you're the one who shows up to help. James. Thank you. You don't have to thank me. I'm going to tell Lucas's dad about all this. I'll get his cards cut off, give you a little justice. Just as I was about to respond, a pair of warm hands gently cupped my face. His thumbs softly brushed away the tears from the corners of my eyes. James's eyes were the kind that always seemed focused and deep, peach blossom eyes that made him look incredibly sincere when he was paying attention. Eyes this beautiful shouldn't be shedding sad tears. I couldn't help but laugh. I nodded and responded just as seriously. All right. James walked me to the parking garage. From a distance, I saw Lucas standing there too. I passed by him without changing my expression. He grabbed my wrist. William. Earlier I didn't mean to. I was just trying to get your attention. I wanted you to coax me a little. I'm sorry. I know they were out of line, I already warned them. I pulled my hand away. Lucas. This kind of thing is just exhausting. I didn't want to listen to him explain. And I definitely didn't want to argue, especially not with James still standing nearby. It just felt too awkward. Let's just talk properly. Okay. Lucas refused to back down. I sighed. Not here. We'll talk at home. Lucas's expression finally softened. Okay. Let's go home. He got into the car. I turned and thanked James again. Thank you. For everything today. No need to be polite. Maybe it was just my imagination. But James's expression had cooled slightly. Maybe he was tired of these kinds of scenes too. I stayed there for a moment, unsure what to say to ease the mood. James raised an eyebrow when I didn't move. I thought you were heading home with Lucas. No rush. After all, going home just meant another fight. I awkwardly tried to lighten things up. Hey. Next time you're free, I'll definitely take you out for a proper meal. James's lips curled slightly. All right. I'll hold you to that. 6. Lucas said he wanted to talk. But I really didn't know what else there was to say. It always came back to the same problems. His temper. My work. We were both too stubborn to change. Going in circles just brought us back to square one. William. Don't you think you've ever done anything wrong? How many times have you ditched me because of your damn job? Do you remember that one time, on our anniversary, I said I'd treat you to dinner? I had everything planned. I was going to propose to you that night. But you came so late. So late. Do you even know how that felt? In the end, even love became blame. I let out a soft sigh. I know. But the more I thought about it, the more I started to question whether agreeing to this relationship in the first place had been the right thing. Maybe I really shouldn't have said yes so easily. I think maybe we should reconsider this whole relationship. Let's take some time to cool off. Lucas was stunned for several seconds. Then he finally reacted. William. What are you saying? You want to break up with me? Over something this small? You've lost your mind. I just think we need some space. Really? Lucas. I'm tired. Maybe it was written all over my face. Lucas didn't argue anymore. He stared at me for a few seconds. Then turned and slammed the door so hard it echoed. He never thought I'd get tired of him. Just like I never thought the boy who once promised to protect me would one day hurt me like this. 7. After storming out of my apartment, Lucas went straight home. He'd always been proud. Too proud to beg. To lower his head for love. So what if it was William? He could live without him, right? But no matter what, the irritation refused to go away. He threw himself onto the couch. James was sitting nearby, quietly watching a movie. This uncle of his, always so cool and distant, rarely involved in the family, was suddenly home again. Uncle. What are you watching? A romance film. James replied lightly. It's about a man who, after breaking up with his lover, fakes his own death, just to make the other realize their true feelings. They get back together in the end. Sometimes, love only reveals itself in life or death moments. Kinda ironic. Don't you think? Fake death? Lucas frowned. Isn't that just lying? Sometimes love needs a little deception. Don't you think so? James had a way of seeming reliable, someone you could trust without even thinking. Slowly, Lucas's expression shifted. I get it now. He bolted out the door, never seeing the faint, ambiguous smile curve at the corner of James's lips. 8. After Lucas left that day, I didn't hear from him for a whole month. Maybe I was just too busy with work. Or maybe I was simply avoiding the thought of what to do with our relationship. But I never expected the next message about Lucas would be the news of his plane crash. A fatal accident. I was in the middle of replying to an email when I heard it. For a moment, I thought I'd misheard. Lucas had a fight with you. And he wasn't in a great mood. He said he wanted to take a short trip to clear his head. We never imagined. I'm so sorry. Guilt crashed over me like a wave. The days that followed blurred into one another. I went through everything like a ghost. I didn't show my face until the day of his funeral. Maybe forgetting someone always starts with forgetting all the bad parts. I locked myself in a restroom stall and cried until my voice broke. Here. A clear, familiar voice spoke beside me. A long, slender hand reached toward me, offering a tissue. I stood up reflexively, forgetting that I hadn't eaten all day and had cried myself dizzy. My knees gave way, and I stumbled forward. A strong hand caught me steadily. Thank you. You look pale, he said. Tone calm but firm. Come with me. I'll take you to eat something. I didn't refuse. Or maybe I just didn't have the strength to. So I let myself be pulled along in a daze. James brought me to a nearby diner and ordered a cup of hot cocoa for me. You're hypoglycemic. Drink something sweet first. Be good. My fingers clutched the mug tightly, turning white at the knuckles. The sweet drink tasted bitter in my mouth. James. I really regret it. When I came home that time, I shouldn't have said such harsh things to Lucas. I even told him I wanted to break up. He was childish. Sure, impulsive and moody, but I never thought he'd end up like this. I rambled, letting it all spill out. I didn't notice the change in James's expression. He reached out and held my hand, his voice steady and reassuring. William, listen to me, this wasn't your fault. You need to come out of this guilt. It's not good to stay in it forever. I can help you. How about getting a new husband? What do you think about me? 9. For a moment, I almost thought I was hallucinating from grief. But when I looked up at the man opposite me, his expression was calm, as if he were presenting a PowerPoint report, or calmly negotiating terms at a business meeting. I really like you. As your fiancé, I can do better than Lucas. I don't remember how I fled that restaurant in such a hurry. All I know is, even after getting home, James's words kept flashing through my mind. His expression was natural. His tone even more so. As if he had no idea how rebellious those words sounded. That contrast gave off a strange, unsettling vibe. Since when had he started liking me? My hazy memories scrambled together fragments. His extraordinary attention to me. The way he looked at me with instinctive gentleness. His repeated appearances to help me out of tight spots. He had been coveting his nephew's boyfriend. For more than a day. Apparently. And I'm only realizing it now. 10. This feeling was terrifying. It kept me from sleeping well for several nights. I even avoided opening my phone. Because every time I did, there was a message from James waiting. And me. I didn't know how to reply. But no matter how much I tried to hide, finding me was no trouble for James at all. One day after work, I was about to head home. Outside the office, a familiar Bugatti was parked. The window was rolled down halfway, revealing the sharp, noble side profile of the driver inside. James saw me and got out of the car. "William, Lucas's parents want to see you to discuss the engagement you had." He opened the door. "Come on. I'll drive you there." My mind barely caught up before I was already in his car. Wait, this isn't right. Even if the parents wanted to meet, they should have contacted me themselves. Why was James the one telling me? And it felt awkward going empty-handed like this. Maybe my expression gave it away. James glanced at me through the rearview mirror. "What's wrong? You look like you want to jump out of the car." He joked. "I'm not going to kidnap you or lock you up." Not funny at all. "Why are you the one driving me there? We talked about your engagement to Lucas the other day over dinner. Now that Lucas is gone, the engagement should naturally be called off. Luckily, I was free. So I'm driving you." I understood. Then asked, "Should I buy something from a supermarket to bring for your aunt?" "No need." James just turned the car into the backyard. "The fruit is in the trunk. Just bring it in later. It's breaking off the engagement, not an official ceremony." James emphasized. "No need to make it so formal." I carried the fruit basket and watched his back, a nagging feeling stirring in my chest. His emphasis on that point, something seemed off. 11. After Lucas passed, his parents avoided visitors completely. When I finally saw them again after so long, they looked visibly more worn down. We ate together and talked for a long while. James barely spoke, quietly washing dishes in the kitchen after the meal. It was late, so I said I'd go home. James appeared from somewhere. "I'll drive you." I was about to refuse, but he added, "It's late, it's hard to get a taxi here. Let James drive you. Don't worry about troubling him." His aunt said this, so I couldn't refuse. As I reached for the back door, it wouldn't open. I instinctively turned and bumped straight into James. I hadn't noticed when he got so close. With the air of a top-tier alpha and his tall stature, his presence overwhelmed me. I took 2 steps back and bumped my waist on the door handle. "Afraid of me?" "No. No." James's gaze was blunt, almost aggressive, like he wanted to tear me apart and devour me. I stammered, barely coherent. "Why, you weren't like this before." "No. Not like this. Before." He had been polite, respectful, careful not to overstep. "Not like now." James laughed unexpectedly. His smile was beautiful, and under the dim light, it looked spirited and confident. He nodded solemnly. "Yeah. Things are different now. Your fiancé was still alive back then. Now things are different." 12. Such outrageous words. James kept surprising me with how many sides he had. I once thought he was a refined gentleman, envied by everyone in high society. But clearly, he could also speak in such crude ways. I don't know which is the real him. Or maybe neither is. I've never really understood him. "William?" A delivery guy shouted from the office door. "Your order's here." I was a bit confused. I didn't order anything. The delivery guy was busy and just left saying, "Maybe someone else ordered it for you." Before rushing off, I took the bag back to my desk. My co-workers gasped. "Dude, how can you live like this?" "Huh? This place is crazy expensive. And they almost never do deliveries." It suddenly made sense to me. My phone buzzed. A message from James. "Did you get the stuff? Remember to eat well. William." I paused a moment, then politely replied, "Thanks. But you don't have to bother next time." James probably took my words to heart, or not completely. Sometimes he wouldn't send meals, but desserts or flowers instead. All ridiculously expensive. This went on for 10 days or 2 weeks. Everyone at the office knew there was some insanely rich alpha chasing after me. Such a lucky guy. A beta coworker patted my shoulder. That handsome alpha is waiting for you downstairs in a Bugatti. Stop working overtime or he'll get impatient. I heard William's ex was rich too. A beautiful Omega like William with a great personality can never lack admirers. Ah. Being an Omega means you're just lucky. Lucky? I forced a bitter smile. But I never wanted to be labeled a lucky Omega. I made up my mind, today I would go find James and have a serious talk. 13. I went downstairs and saw James waiting for me off to the side. I walked over. James. I said I'd take you out to eat before but never actually did. How about today? We can chat too. James smiled and agreed. Sure. I'll happily accept. I took James to a simple stir-fry restaurant and reserved a small private room. At first, I felt awkward, not knowing how to start. A few drinks later, I loosened up. James. Please don't send me food anymore. I'm not being picky or pretentious. But I really hate that whenever people see me, they automatically think, oh, that's the Omega being chased by a rich alpha. He's so lucky. If he has money chasing him, why bother working so hard? Omegas are meant to get married anyway. Why not just enjoy life at home? When I was with Lucas, people around him saw me that way. That's why our wedding kept getting delayed. I just didn't want to be seen like that. It made me really upset. Sorry. I wanted to say more. But James unexpectedly apologized first. I was taken aback and looked up at him. James's expression was serious. That's my fault. I never thought about that. I've always been clueless about relationships. My parents said I was like a block of wood. So I thought showing love meant giving the best things to someone. I thought you'd be happy. Never imagined you wouldn't like that. William. Thank you for telling me this. I won't do anything that makes you uncomfortable from now on. James continued. I will respect your feelings unconditionally. 14. The words caught in my throat and turned around once before I finally said, okay. Okay. I remembered I had said similar things to Lucas once. But Lucas's reply was, William, I don't even know why you're so ungrateful. So many people want those things but can't get them. Why do you always have it but don't cherish it? If I stopped giving you gifts, you'd throw a fit and say I don't love you. Omegas are really hard to deal with. I picked up my glass and took 2 more swallows. Forget it, he's gone now. What's the point in thinking about that? I cleared my mind and spoke to James again. James. I can't accept you so quickly. Not just because you're Lucas's uncle, but because I can't forget Lucas so fast. I don't think you'd want a lover whose heart isn't completely free. That wouldn't be fair to you. James looked down at his phone and stayed quiet for a long time. After a while, he looked up and smiled slightly, not answering my point. What if he was lying to you? James put away his phone. I froze. What do you mean? Suddenly, a flood of alpha pheromones exploded in the air. My legs went weak. I didn't fall because a pair of strong hands caught me firmly in their arms. The door to the private room was kicked open almost at the same time. My eyes widened, hardly believing what I saw. The person who came in was Lucas. The Lucas who had been buried for a month. He wasn't dead. 15. What if the fiancé you can't forget was lying to you? Pretending to be dead out of childish spite. Tricking you endlessly. Does a person like that deserve to fill your heart and eyes? Buzzing filled my ears. I watched the resurrected Lucas rush toward us. Getting closer and closer. His fists clenched. Eyes full of anger. And he punched James hard. James didn't even try to dodge. He took the hit, turning his head from the force. James. You bastard. You made me fake my death to test William's feelings. What are you doing now? Trying to steal him. Lucas's angry echoes kept ringing in my ears. The alcohol fermented in my brain. I just felt overwhelmed. So much information in one night. It was almost too much to process. James made Lucas fake death to test me. What feelings of mine were worth testing? I looked at that very familiar face before me, yet felt completely alien to it for the first time. William. I stepped back, avoiding Lucas's outstretched hand. I looked him in the eye without expression. You never died. You lied to me. Why? Lucas's expression showed visible panic. He was about to speak, but I cut him off. Is this another one of your games? No. Lucas pointed angrily at his uncle. It's him. He was the one who suggested I fake my death to test your feelings on the night I stormed off after our fight. I just didn't want to break up with you. So I tried this to win you back. William. I just didn't know how to be sure if you still loved me. I was so scared. So? I almost admired how calm I still was. Did you see what you wanted to see? I was hurt and guilty. Because I thought my harsh words led to your accident. I barely slept every night. So? Are you happy with my reaction? He said nothing. And I laughed to myself. You must be satisfied. Or you wouldn't be here now. Thinking of his parents' faces. Aged almost overnight. I looked at Lucas. Growing more disappointed. You'll always be a child. You haven't changed at all. Lucas. You don't owe anyone an apology. I didn't even bother to say goodbye. I grabbed my coat and left the room. 16. I thought I would feel sad. But surprisingly, my emotions were damn stable. Maybe I was just used to bad luck. Waiting by the roadside for a ride. Suddenly my shoulder felt warm. James somehow caught up and threw his coat over me. The wound Lucas had punched on his mouth had turned into a bruise. Not a good look on that otherwise artistic face. At that moment, the car arrived. I kept a cold face, not wanting to say a word to the half-instigator. I tossed the coat back into his arms, opened the door, and got in. Unexpectedly, James risked putting his hand on the window edge. Losing all dignity. Don't take it out on me. William. I rolled my eyes. You're no saint either. His expression immediately looked a bit wronged. And I suspected he was pretending to be drunk. I admit, I used a little trick. All fair game when you're stealing someone else's wife. I was shocked by his shamelessness. Who's your wife? Driver. Go. The driver floored the gas. As if chased by demons. Through the rearview mirror, I saw James still standing tall where he was. Maybe it was just my imagination. But it looked like the corners of his mouth twitched into a faint smile. Such a schemer. If I end up with him, I might get bullied to death. 17. After that day, Lucas tried every possible way to contact me many times. But I clearly knew meeting again was meaningless. Lucas and I were completely done. I could tolerate his bad temper, childishness, and selfishness. But in a relationship, the biggest taboo was deceit. Once there's deceit, it's like a mirror cracking, never to be whole again. I sighed and gave a bitter smile to myself. William. Oh, William. You really overthink. Even without this deceit, you and Lucas wouldn't last long. With such different values, you were never meant to be together. Sigh. William. What happened to that alpha who used to send you gifts? Already gave up. As expected. Alphas aren't to be trusted. I nodded deeply in agreement. Yes. As Omegas, we should focus on our careers. Careers will never betray us. Lucas and James, this uncle and nephew duo, were both no good. I didn't want to see either of them. Best to treat them like air. Apparently, they realized this too. They stopped bothering me. They fought fiercely in private, which gave me a little peace. Without those two around, my work efficiency improved a lot. A loser in love. A winner in business. Sure enough, I woke up this morning to find I'd closed another deal. 18. But this deal was unusual. From negotiations to setting the contract signing date, their company's CEO never showed up. The whole time. Only assistants handled everything. It was clearly relaxed. But their assistant said the CEO would appear at the signing dinner this Friday. Hearing that, I relaxed. Otherwise, I'd worry it was some bait-and-switch scam. The dinner was at Rui Tower. It suddenly rained heavily that day, causing traffic jams. Luckily, I made it just in time and pushed open the private room door. I looked up and before I could greet anyone, I locked eyes with the mysterious CEO, sitting in the main seat. No wonder I felt something strange all along. It was an old acquaintance. William. Why so late? Come. Drink with us to make up for it. I hurried to sit and raised my glass. James stopped me. No need. With me. No need for drinking rituals. Just eat and talk business normally. Thanks to James's intervention, I didn't drink a drop the entire time. An employee acting more like the boss. James was even more exaggerated. It seemed like his eyes never left me the entire time. Whenever I sneaked a glance at him, we'd always lock eyes. And then he'd smile. 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 What was so funny? After the dinner, the boss seemed to intuitively notice James's special attention to me. He offered to let me drive James home. William, you're the only one sober tonight, so you have to drive him home. When the boss said that, how could I refuse? I nodded and stared expressionlessly at James. Let's go. I'll take you. 19. If you don't want to drive, I can call a driver to pick us up. What's the difference between that and just farting after pulling your pants down? I chuckled. No need. I'm not that fancy. James was probably feeling the alcohol effects delayed. At first, he spoke clearly. Soon, he was leaning on the passenger seat, half asleep. When we got home, it took a lot of effort to get him out of the car. Only after bringing him inside did I realize something was off. A strong alpha pheromone filled the air. James's face was flushed. His forehead hot. Was this the sensitive period? James? James? I called him several times with no response. I sighed and went to look for some suppressants that might be in his place. But after searching for a while, found nothing. The alpha behind me suddenly woke up without warning. He hugged me tightly from behind. It's on the 3rd floor. He opened a drawer and took out a suppressant. I wanted to inject him, but he held me so tightly I couldn't break free. William, I have to confess something to you. The good-tempered me you saw before was an act. I'm actually bad, possessive, and mentally unstable. Seeing him kiss you, touch you, I feel like I'm going crazy. I just want to watch over you alone. Possess you. I really like you. Since college. The first time I saw you, I liked you a lot. When you gave that speech on stage, I thought, how could there be an Omega so perfect for me? But you were Lucas's lover. So I was jealous and helpless. Now that I finally have a chance, I don't want to give up. I want to tell you everything and I don't want to deceive you. Don't be afraid of me. William. Afraid? Hearing these words, my first reaction wasn't fear. A strange feeling rose in my heart. Someone loving me so deeply, It made me feel a bit thrilled. Great. I'm crazy too. 20. I booked an appointment at the hospital for a mark removal surgery. To wash away the mark Lucas left on me, severing all ties with him. I planned to do it alone. But James somehow got the news and insisted on accompanying me. I'm worried if you do it alone. What if you feel unwell afterward? Headache? Dizziness? Who will take care of you? I couldn't refuse. So I went with him. The surgery was short but painful. Tears welled up as I remembered the hospital's slogan at the entrance. Choose the right alpha. And he won't let you suffer such pain. Coming out of the hospital, I saw a familiar figure standing at the door from afar. It was Lucas, whom I hadn't seen in weeks. He looked completely different than before. Scruffy. Exhausted. You removed the mark? Yeah. Let's part ways peacefully. Lucas's eyes reddened. William. Even if it's not me, you shouldn't have chosen him. He looked at James with hatred. He's no good. I shook my head calmly. That's none of your business anymore. James, standing behind me, smiled like a victorious general. As I passed by Lucas, he whispered softly in my ear. None of your business. Why keep chasing people down like that? Is he trying to drive his nephew crazy? 21. There's a saying, unlucky in love, lucky in business. No pretense there. Without those troublesome men around, I've felt my work has been going smoother lately. I even got promoted. But a promotion means I'm even busier. Busy enough to forget my own sensitive period. In the middle of the night, suddenly overheating without warning, I fumbled through an empty drawer with despair in my heart. The gland that had just had its mark removed was even more sensitive. It screamed desperately for pheromones. I whimpered miserably, grabbed my phone, and instinctively called the number I'd been contacting most lately. Hello? William. What's wrong? James. I feel awful. My voice cracked with tears. Can you bring me some suppressants? His tone immediately turned serious. I'm on my way. I buried myself under the covers, drifting in a haze, not knowing how much time passed. James arrived in about 10 minutes. But it felt like a century to me. When I heard knocking, I opened the door. Seeing James, I felt like a cat spotting a giant catnip plant. I lunged straight at him, nuzzling his glands and sucking eagerly. James's pheromones matched mine perfectly. I rubbed against him comfortably in his arms. James raised his hand and pushed the cold suppressant into my gland. Teasing. Why do you act like a little dog? I scowled. Who are you calling a dog? James played along. I am. Woof woof. Shameless. James scooped me fully into his arms like holding a child. He gently stroked my gland. Baby, he said. Can I kiss the places he kissed? I was uncomfortable with his touch and turned my head away in annoyance. James pulled me back and pretended to ask. Can I mark the places he marked? I was annoyed by his teasing and shouted. Do whatever you want. All right. James's eyes darkened. Baby. That's what you said. My brain couldn't catch up. But my pheromones accepted James completely before my mind could. I first felt pain. Then pleasure. It was like being thrown into the clouds. Floating on air. My originally withered gland was filled to the brim. Almost overflowing. Unable to hold any more. Before losing consciousness, I only knew James carried me to the bathroom. 22. The next day I woke up sore all over. Opening my eyes, a close-up handsome face was right in front of me. Good morning, wife. Is it really okay to be this cheesy so early in the morning? James rolled out of bed obediently and went to the kitchen to make breakfast. I was drawn by the sizzling aroma. James. Apron on. Looked every bit the husband material. Wife. Come eat. Hearing that title, I still couldn't get used to it. Silently cursed. Shameless. James smiled and replied. I don't know what shame is. I only know that fighting and stealing is how you get a wife.